The murder of Mary Phagan. The case of Mary Phagan is one of the most notable unsolved murder mysteries in American history, linking themes of social injustice, racial tension, and corruption in the early 20th century. The murder of the young factory worker, along with the national attention it garnered, sparked significant discussions around child labor, workers' rights, and the legal system of the time. Mary Phagan was born on June 1, 1900, in Milton, Georgia. She was the daughter of a poor family and grew up in a rural environment, experiencing the hardships of life in a working-class family. At the age of 13, Mary took a job at the National Pencil Company in Atlanta to help support her family. Working in the factory, Mary was noted to be a bright and cheerful young girl, well liked by her co-workers. With dreams of a better life and helping her family financially, she was diligent in her work. However, her life would take a tragic turn that would ultimately lead to her untimely death. On April 26, 1913, Mary Phagan went to collect her paycheck at the National Pencil Company, a visit that would become her last. After she did not return home that night, her family began to worry, and an extensive search was launched to look for the missing girl. It wasn't until the early morning hours of April 27 that her lifeless body was discovered in the factory's basement. Mary had been brutally murdered. She had suffered a severe head injury and had been sexually assaulted. The shocking nature of the crime quickly drew the attention of local law enforcement and the media. The investigation into Mary Phagan's murder commenced rapidly. Detectives initially pursued various leads, interviewing friends, family, and employees at the National Pencil Company. The factory's management and workers were cooperative, but as investigators pieced together the timeline, they focused their attention on one man, Leo Frank, the Jewish superintendent of the factory. Leo Frank had been one of the last people known to have seen Mary at the factory. He claimed that she had left work shortly after arriving to pick up her pay. Because of this connection and the growing anti-Semitic sentiment in the community, Frank quickly became a prime suspect, despite a lack of substantive evidence against him. As the police investigation continued, Leo Frank was arrested on April 30, 1913, and charged with murder. The trial began in July of that year and was heavily sensationalized by the media. Reports often painted Frank in a negative light, feeding into the public hysteria surrounding the case. The trial was contentious, with the prosecution relying on questionable witness testimony, while the defense presented evidence that called into question the circumstances of the investigation. Public sentiment turned against Frank, who faced intense prejudice due to his Jewish identity. Frank's defense claimed he was innocent, arguing that there was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. Amid a media frenzy that perpetuated an atmosphere of fear and outrage, the jury ultimately found Frank guilty on August 25, 1913, sentencing him to death. Leo Frank's conviction ignited significant controversy and public outcry. Many prominent figures, including civil rights advocates and Jewish organizations, rallied to support Frank, arguing that he had been wrongfully convicted due to a lack of evidence and pervasive anti-Semitism. Despite appeals and petitions for clemency, Leo Frank's case remained contentious. On April 17, 1915, in a shocking turn of events, a group of men, who called themselves the Knights of Mary Phagan, abducted Frank from prison. They took him to Marietta, Georgia, near where Mary Phagan had lived, and lynched him, hanging his body from a tree. The lynching of Leo Frank sent shockwaves throughout the nation and became a significant symbol in the history of American injustice, igniting debates about racial, religious, and social equity in the United States. The murder of Mary Phagan and the subsequent trial and lynching of Leo Frank left an indelible mark on American society, leading to profound discussions regarding justice, prejudice, and the treatment of minorities. On the one hand, we have societal impact. The case showcased the vulnerabilities faced by both children and those accused of crimes, particularly in the context of growing societal prejudices. It brought attention to issues such as child labor, societal responsibility, and the importance of due process. On the other hand, we have the Anti-Defamation League, In response to the waves of anti-Semitism exacerbated by the case, the Anti-Defamation League ADL was formed in 1913 to combat hatred against Jews and other minority groups. Lastly, memorialization. Mary Phagan's story has also been memorialized as a tragic example of the vulnerability faced by young women, particularly in the context of violence and exploitation. Over the years, her name has been synonymous with the fight for justice and the need for societal change regarding how crimes against women are perceived and addressed. Over the years, Mary's family sought to keep her memory alive. They have participated in various events and discussions regarding the case and have advocated for justice, highlighting the importance of identifying the real perpetrator of her murder, despite the wrongful conviction of Leo Frank. Despite Leo Frank being lynched and the trial garnering immense attention, the actual murder of Mary Phagan remains unsolved, and her case is officially classified as a cold case. Many aspects of the investigation were overshadowed by the trial and subsequent lynching, leading to a lack of closure regarding the circumstances of her death. The murder of Mary Phagan leaves many unanswered questions. The true killer was never identified, and various theories have emerged over the years regarding the possibility of an alternative suspect. Some speculate that there may have been other individuals connected to the factory who could have been involved, but the chaos surrounding the trial and the subsequent events complicated the investigation. In recent years, there have been calls to re-examine the evidence surrounding Mary Phagan's murder. Advocates argue that modern forensic technology could potentially reveal new insights into the case. These calls reflect a broader trend in criminal justice, where unsolved cases are revisited with new tools and methods. The legacy of Mary Phagan's murder and the trial of Leo Frank significantly impacted American literature, art, and public discourse. The story has inspired numerous works that critique societal norms and the justice system during the early 20th century. Number 1. Literature and theater. Mary's life and tragic death have been the subject of novels, plays, and scholarly works. One notable work is the play Parade, which centers around Leo Frank's trial and raises questions about justice, prejudice, and the complexities of truth. These cultural representations contribute to ongoing dialogues about the case and serve to honor Mary's memory. Number 2. Documentaries and film. The case has also been examined in documentaries and films that explore the socio-political climates of the time and the resurgence of anti-Semitism. These works analyze not only the crime itself but also the radicalization of public sentiment and the societal implications of the events that unfolded. The unsolved murder of Mary remains a poignant reminder of the intersections of social injustice, prejudice, and the complexities within the criminal justice system. Her life was tragically cut short, yet her story continues to resonate, reflecting the ongoing struggles for justice and equality in society. As debates surrounding the treatment of historical crimes continue to surface, Mary Phagan's case serves as a crucial chapter in the story of America's fight against discrimination, the importance of due process, and the necessity for continual advocacy on behalf of victims. Even decades later, the echoes of Mary's tragedy remind us of the need to remain vigilant against the forces of hatred and injustice, ensuring that voices like hers are remembered and that the quest for truth endures. The unresolved nature of her murder imbues her story with a haunting legacy that inspires reflection, activism, and a profound respect for the quest for justice. If you find unsolved mysteries exciting, hit the subscribe button below.